Today, we're diving into the truly extraordinary life of a man named Narciso Olalo. I mean, his journey is just wow. It starts in the kind of deep poverty you can barely imagine in a tiny village in the Philippines and somehow leads to a divine calling that completely flips his entire world upside down. It's really a story about incredible hardship, but also amazing resilience and, of course, faith.
Okay, so to really get a sense of the scale of his life, let's just look at this map. It's not just about geography, right? It's about a total life transformation. You can see he starts out in Camiguin, his birthplace, and then his path just winds all through the Philippines, for school, for work, before he finally ends up where he is now, in Sydney, Australia. Every single one of these points on the map, it's a major chapter in his story.
All right, so here's how we're going to walk through his life. We've got four main parts. First, we'll look at the incredible hardship that basically forged who he is. Then we'll get to the spiritual turning point that gave him a brand new purpose. After that, we'll see the amazing skills that made him, well, him. And finally, we'll explore the divine mission he's on today.
So let's dive right into that first part. His story really does begin in fire. His early years were shaped by a kind of poverty that honestly is tough for most of us to even imagine. And it was that very experience that forged the absolute core of his character.
I mean, just think about it for a second. What were you doing when you were 7 years old? Playing, right? School? Well, for Narciso, 7 was the age he started working. Full time. He was doing literally whatever he could to help feed his family of 8 after they lost their home.
So you can imagine school was a luxury he just couldn't afford a lot of the time. And he would go right up to his teacher and tell her, not as an excuse, but just as a heartbreaking fact. The choice was brutal: a day of learning or a meal for his family. It's not really a choice, is it?
Now this slide shows a contrast that is just mind-blowing. On one side, you have the grim reality of their hunger. We're talking about surviving on watery porridge or sometimes nothing but boiled moringa leaves served in a coconut shell. But then you look at the other side, and you see this unbreakable integrity. I mean, they were surrounded by food on their neighbors' farms, and yet they never, ever stole a single thing.
And that kind of character? Well, it didn't go unnoticed. Even though he was bullied for being poor and for being absent so much, his teachers saw something really special in him. In elementary school, they actually gave him awards for being the most behaved and most helpful student. Kind of says it all, doesn't it?
Okay, so all that strength of character forged when he was just a kid really becomes the foundation for what happens next. Because as a young adult, his life takes this sudden, really profound spiritual turn that just sends him down a completely new path.
And what's really interesting is that even before this huge spiritual awakening, there were little signs of what was to come. When he was working in Manila, he'd go into beer houses but not to drink. He'd spend his money just to get a chance to talk to the women working there, trying to convince them to find a safer way to live. People actually started calling him pastor way back then.
And then, October 2010. This is the moment everything changes. He describes his absolutely incredible spiritual journey, like a vision. He says he separated from his body, met a spiritual twin, was guided down a path, and then came face to face with Jesus Christ. He was even told he could jump to see the afterlife, but he just felt he wasn't ready. So when he chose to come back, he says Jesus gave him a gift, something he calls the power of mind, before sending him back.
So after an experience like that, he asked God, "What should I be called? Am I a prophet? A messenger?" But the answer he got was super specific, and maybe not what you'd expect. His official title is simply calling. The idea is that God will call on him whenever there's a message that needs to be delivered to the people.
But this raises a really big question, right? Of all the people in the world, why him? Well, according to the messages he says he received, the answer isn't found in some monastery or a library. It's found in his calloused hands and all the practical skills he had to learn just to survive. He actually says that God told him directly the right way to live is like you, that his self-sufficient, super hard-working life was the perfect model. He was even called a jack of all trades, because he could survive literally anywhere, just relying on his own 2 hands.
And when they say jack of all trades, they are not kidding. Just look at this list. The guy's skill set is just massive. He's a fisherman, a construction worker, doing carpentry, tiling, painting. He's a farmer, a mechanic for electronics and watches, a cook, a barber, a seamster. Get this, he even built a working boat out of a discarded bucket. A bucket.
But it wasn't just about his practical skills, what he could do. The messages he received also pointed to 3 core virtues about who he was. You can see them here: his incredible work ethic, his obedience to his parents, and maybe most importantly, this deep, selfless desire to help other people without ever expecting anything back.
So you put it all together, right? The hardship that forged him, the character that defined him, and the incredible skills he learned. Apparently it was all leading up to this one thing, the divine mission that now guides his entire life.
And his instructions were crystal clear. He has one job, to heal and to preach. But there's a condition. For it to work, people have to believe. They have to believe he's an instrument of God, and they have to believe in Jesus Christ. And the payment? This is key. There is no payment. Everything he does has to be absolutely free. No collections, nothing.
Yeah, a really central part of this mission is this idea that faith is what activates the healing. And according to the message he was given, for those who believe, they can be healed just by hearing the sound of his voice.
And this really gets to the heart of it. He was told very clearly that he is not the source of the healing. He's the vessel. This quote sums it up perfectly. I am the one who makes well, but you are the one who administers the cure. It's a powerful distinction, right? He sees his role as the delivery person, not the one who created the medicine.
So when you step back and look at his whole life, it's this incredible journey between two extremes, isn't it? From the deepest, most desperate poverty to this divine calling. And whether you believe the details or not, his story kind of leaves us with a really powerful question to think about. What does it take to turn a life of hardship into a life of purpose?